which is exaltation. It is world religions. You kind of saw with that video we played that has all of the ways that world religions see Jesus. Would you be surprised? I'll put Jesus on the fallout here, on the timeline. There's a fuse leading up to Jesus, spiritual fuse. There's also a spiritual fuse that follows Jesus. Would you be surprised to...
Wait, that's not how bombs work. Like, there's a fuse leading up to Jesus, and then Jesus comes, and then there's a fuse afterwards. Like, that's not how bombs work. Like, sure, there's a fuse leading up to it, but then there's not a fuse anymore. Where's the other fuse going to?
Would you be surprised to learn that all of the world religions that come after Jesus on the timeline, all of them mention Jesus in some way?
Yes, because Jesus was a popular fuck by the time that Islam came around. Let's see, Islam didn't come around until what, the 7th century? Yeah, 610 is what Google is bringing up. Islam didn't start until the 7th century. And so, I mean, of course, Deepak Chopra, fuck, I don't even want to deal with him. But everybody else comes far after, like Jesus. So Jesus is a known figure by the 6th century. I mean, it was the 3rd century when Jesus got popularized by the Roman government. And then after that point, it was just everywhere. So yeah, I mean, I could expect them to mention Jesus in some kind of fashion at that point.
Yeah, in Islam, Jesus is on the pages of the Quran. Every one of these world religions that follows Jesus will hat tip Jesus and mention Jesus. They will either mention, modify, or merge Jesus into their systems because...
Okay, I mean, maybe I can agree with it because they'd have to modify the whole Jesus story in that Jesus isn't like the Son of God or anything like that. So, I mean, I guess I can accept that.
Of course, they follow Jesus in the timeline. But what if I told you that all of the religions that precede Jesus also mention, modify, or merge Jesus into their systems?
Now, the Jews didn't even know about Jesus, okay? But the pagans, the pagan religions that existed far before, you know, the Israelite culture, Judaism, or Christianity, they apparently have modified, mentioned, or merged Jesus into their shit. I would love to know how that works. He's about to explain it, so let's just get to it.
How can that be? These ones existed before Jesus was ever here.
I mean, it's like a fucking... did he hear me just now? And he's like preparing. Maybe he watched some of my content and was like, oh yeah, that fuck would be like, those existed beforehand. Or, you know, he could just look at a fucking timeline and see that, you know, that's just not how shit works.
Like Jesus isn't even around yet. Oh yeah, but here's the problem, is that there are worshipers of those systems that now are worshiping them in this common era. In other words, these systems survive, some of them, not all of them, into the common era.
So, like, just take Islam, for instance. I have not been able to find where in Islam, Addis, or any kind of version of Addis, or Heracles is worshipped by Muslims. Now, obviously, I don't know about like the two in the middle there. I mean, I don't know what religions they are, but in any case, the point is that if these figures precede Jesus, there's no way that Jesus can be merged into them because Jesus didn't exist yet.
And once they got past Jesus in the timeline, they started to change to accommodate him.
No. Like the Heracles and Addis, those were definitely not changed to accommodate Jesus. We know about the myths surrounding both Addis and Heracles because we have writings from prior to when Jesus was supposedly around or was heavily influencing anything. So, I mean, we have like good accounts of those and what those groups believed. Now, like I said, I can't say for the rest of any of that, but as far as Islam goes, like Muslims didn't change Addis or Heracles in order to fit Jesus into them. I don't know what in the fuck he's talking about.
Even though they preceded him, they accommodate him now. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll show you how this looks. These are all now the systems that mention, merge, or modify. In other words, it's Jesus alone that unifies these systems and brings clarity to the chaos in the spiritual world.
J. Warner Wallace thinks that religious figures that existed for hundreds of years prior to Jesus coming around, they changed their figures before Jesus was around in order to model off of Jesus that had yet to exist. I mean, holy shit. Talk about confirmation bias. God damn. Like, I don't understand how you can honestly convince people of this shit unless they're just not asking questions about it.